You know what I was most proud of? For 8 years, there wasn't one single hint of a scandal or a lie.
President under pressure from a trifecta of scandals.
President Barack Obama trying to get ahead of just one of the 3 scandals now consuming the country's attention.
That scandal involving the Secret Service and accusations of drinking and hiring prostitutes in Colombia.
The Obama spying scandal.
The mother of all scandals, Spygate.
This is a big scandal.
It's a huge scandal.
The Gunwalker scandal.
The VA scandal.
VA scandal.
It's a scandal telling America you can keep your doctor, a callous deception that hurts millions.
Today, widespread embarrassment about this scandal has really turned to disgust.
All of this comes as a White House that takes pride in being scandal-free has been hammered by a series of controversies.
President Obama is fending off incoming fire on
what went wrong in Benghazi and whether
this seems like a genuine
potential third scandal.
The latest, revelations the Justice Department obtained 2 months of telephone records of reporters at the Associated Press as part of a leak investigation.
The Attorney General says he recused himself from the probe early on because he was one of the officials who had access to the information that was leaked.
I believe there's been a pattern by this administration in not taking responsibility for failures, avoiding blame, pointing the fingers in somebody else's direction. Would you agree with that?
No. For 8 years, there wasn't one single hint of a scandal.
The CIA went into walled-off Senate computers in a bona fide investigation that's being done of the detention and interrogation of detainees.
As far as the allegations of, CIA hacking into, Senate computers, nothing could be further from the truth.
And it isn't the first time. It's actually the 3rd time.
CIA Director John Brennan apologized today after an internal investigation determined the agency had spied on staff members of the United States Senate.
Firestorm surrounding the IRS. Last night, we asked if what they did was fair. Tonight, the FBI is asking, was it criminal?
House Speaker John Boehner led the way this morning as Republicans stepped up demands for action in the scandal at the Internal Revenue Service.
My question isn't about who's going to resign. My question is, who's going to jail?
And the president? Well, he says he did not know the IRS was singling out conservative groups until the news broke.
I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about this.
Politically motivated audits are so obviously wrong, they've even been comedy fodder for the president.
President Crow and the Board of Regents will soon learn about being audited by the IRS.
Ms. Lerner, why would you say Tea Party cases were very dangerous?
My counsel has advised me that I have not waived my constitutional rights under the Fifth Amendment, and on his advice, I will decline to answer any question on the subject matter of this hearing.
Did you ever discern any anti-Tea Party or anti-conservative bias, or was it just bureaucratic demands that just were never ending?
There's absolutely no targeting. This is the kind of back and forth that happens when people apply for 501c4 status.
It's obvious that they were trying to make the process as difficult as possible, and they're still, to this day, stringing Tea Party patriots along.
In the years before the election, more liberal groups were being approved, while conservative groups with names like Patriot, Constitution, and Tea Party were stymied. In 2011, not a single Tea Party group was approved.
Operation Fast and Furious, an Obama administration program that let thousands of assault weapons fall into the hands of violent Mexican drug cartels. Guns found at over 170 crime scenes, including the murder of a U.S. Border Patrol agent. The Obama administration denied the program's existence and withheld information to protect political appointees. The Dallas Morning News calls this a cover-up. Will anyone be held accountable?
There wasn't one single hint.
My main concern is fixing a problem.
New questions over who is to blame for the deaths of some of America's most elite warriors in a helicopter crash. Their families suggest that the White House and others are lying about their deaths and what led to them.
93 days after killing bin Laden, all of a sudden you're going to put 22 of the most elite in SEAL Team 6 in the world and 8 other great Americans into a Chinook over the battle. Michael, being a crypto, the code for them is serving silence. And that silence was broken by our administration. And All of a sudden there's movies, SEAL Team 6, documentary, SEAL Team 6, SEAL Team 6, this. Where did it all start? Joe Biden in Delaware in a tuxedo with a half a load on, telling everybody it was the elite Navy SEAL team.
Now to the VA scandal, which is now a criminal investigation. An extensive new report reveals more than 100,000 veterans waited months to see a doctor or never saw one at all. And some workers saying they were pressured to falsify records.
Now the VA scandal has officially become a criminal investigation.
I think I'm either low IQ or slow, or I don't know what I am. Slow Joe Biden?
I was most proud of, for 8 years, there wasn't one single hint of a scandal or a lie. I was proud of, for 8 years, there wasn't one single hint of a scandal or a lie.
Secondly, the right wing went after Clinton for his indiscretions, and Obama was scandal-free.
Secondly, the right wing went after Clinton for his indiscretions, and Obama was scandal-free. Secondly, the right wing went after Clinton for his indiscretions, and Obama was scandal-free. Secondly, the right wing went after Clinton for his indiscretions, and Obama was scandal-free.
But in case communist, Marxist, terrorist Marcia Fudge, Democrat of Ohio, has forgotten about Obama scandals because she has selective memory, well, let me help her refresh her memory. Congress rips Obama on cover-up of fast and furious gun running. See, they're hoping it's been long enough that most of you have forgot and don't remember the fast and furious gun running scandal under the Obama administration. And I do use the word scandal, because that's exactly what it was. Marcia Fudge, the communist, Marxist, terrorist Democrat from Ohio, is hoping you're just stupid and ignorant enough not to remember that when she made her comment that Obama left office with no scandals. She lied again, as usual, with the Democrats. So let's look into this fast and furious gun running scandal, how it got started. Let's take a deeper look into it. Despite leaving office without facing justice, Obama and his top administration officials are still not out of the woods yet on the Fast and Furious scheme to arm Mexican drug cartels under the disguise of conducting an investigation. I'm going to read that again. Are still not out of the woods yet on the Fast and Furious scandal to arm Mexican drug cartels under the guise of conducting an investigation. That's how they work. This month, the House Oversight Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee released a damning report blasting the former administration for the scandal and the subsequent ham-handed attempt to cover it up, including obstruction of Congress and shady dealings with the press and victims' families. Many key documents are still being withheld. Unsurprisingly, the establishment media has completely ignored the latest developments in the explosive story. But with more facts coming out, activists and victims' families hope former officials involved in the deadly gun running program may still be brought to justice for a wide range of crimes. We're not done. Let's move on. Operation Fast and Furious was an Obama program in which the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, ATF, helped put heavy weapons into the hands of murderous drug cartels in Mexico. The whole scandal exploded when a federal agent was murdered with a fast and furious gun, one that was sold to the Mexican cartels, is what they're getting at. As the story threatened to bring down key Obama officials, the spin was put out, in other words, the lies, was put out that it was all part of a supposed investigation into drug cartels. However, massive amounts of evidence emerged in the subsequent months and years suggesting that it was actually a criminal operation to blame the Second Amendment for violence, with the supposed targets of the alleged investigation already on the FBI payroll. Indeed, top lawmakers and gun rights activists have said the operation was intended to be exploited by Obama to push for gun control, but it blew up in the administration's face when federal agents blew the whistle. Marcia Fudge, I don't know where you got this notion that Obama left office without a scandal, because it involved Eric Holder and quite a few Obama officials. So your notion or your illusion is bogus. It's a lie. It's phony. You're phony, Marcia Fudge, Democrat of Ohio. You're phony because you're a racist, a communist, Marxist, activist, racist. You're a terrorist. Notice how all those words end in IST? They all fit together. Communist, Marxist, activist, racist. Fits you perfectly, Marcia Fudge, Democrat of Ohio. The latest joint staff report on the scandal, released by lawmakers June 7th, is the third in a series of congressional reports outlining the Obama administration's plan to arm murderous drug cartels by coercing U.S. gun dealers to sell them and using U.S. tax money to buy them. Dubbed Fast and Furious Obstruction of Congress by the Department of Justice, the new report highlights what lawmakers said was former administrations oftentimes illegal stonewalling and deliberating lying in the DOJ's efforts to cover up the crimes. It came from the top. Of course, lying to Congress can itself be a crime, and Obama's Attorney General, anti-gun extremist Eric Holder, put it right here, Obama's Attorney General Eric Holder was held in criminal contempt of Congress for his lies. However, he was never put behind bars. Kind of like Hillary. See how they all work together, all these communist and Marxist terrorists? Isn't that amazing? This is what scumbags we got. And they want to get back in power? Oh, they can't wait, because they're going to turn this country upside down. The new report was scathing. In the course of that investigation, nearly 6 years ago, the Justice Department wrote to Congress and falsely denied that law enforcement officers allowed straw purchases to buy firearms illegally in the United States and traffic them without being apprehended. Since that false denial, the committees have investigated why the Department of Justice under Obama misled Congress and failed to correct its misrepresentation in a timely manner. Despite the department's refusal, that's the Justice Department's refusal to cooperate, the investigation developed with the cooperation of DOJ whistleblowers. of DOJ whistleblowers. Unbelievable. Eric Holder himself was involved in withholding thousands of key documents. Eric Holder himself was involved in withholding thousands of key documents. The report continues, and he even asked Obama to exert so-called executive privilege over all documents related to the department's responses to questions from Congress about Fast and Furious. Obama complied, dishonestly purporting to justify the administration's refusal to comply with lawful congressional subpoenas in order to obstruct the investigation. By the government's own logic, that strongly suggests topic officials had something to hide. In essence, the highest levels, I want to highlight this, the highest levels of the Obama administration were determined to prevent the American people's elected representatives from doing their jobs, even if it meant openly flaunting federal law. Finally, the courts stepped in, forcing officials to hand over some of the documents. The produced document showed Holder was significantly more involved in the response to Congress's investigation than had previously been understood. The new report said many key documents are still being withheld, but the body of evidence is available at this point is sufficiently robust to conclude that there are fundamental flaws in the department's approach to responding to congressional requests for documents and information generally, and in the department's tactics in dealing with questions about Fast and Furious case in particular. According to the newly available documents cited in the report, Justice Department officials were focused more on spin and obfuscation, lies, and bullshit, than getting the facts right. Calling the climate at DOJ headquarters highly politicized, the report noted that Obama Justice Department was doing its best to limit the amount of disclosed information in its dealings with Congress and the press. Even the family of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry, who was murdered with Fast and Furious gun, was given the runaround by Obama's administration, with the DOJ apparently viewing the family as a public relations nuisance. So the family of Brian Terry, who was murdered with a Fast and Furious gun, was given the runaround by Obama's administration, with the Department of Justice apparently viewing the family as a public relations nuisance under Eric Holder. And what's this Marcia Fudge, Democrat of Ohio, communist, Marxist, terrorist, Marcia Fudge? Obama didn't have any scandals? Selective memory you have, Marcia Fudge. Selective memory, just like the rest of you Democratic, communist, Marxist, liberal terrorists in Congress, in the Senate, and representatives. All you Democratic liberals have what's known as selective memory, what you want to remember, what you hope the public don't remember. Other outrages documented in the report include the Department of Justice's failure to properly investigate the concerns of whistleblowers. The internal investigations, the report said, were deeply flawed and largely a sham, with Department of Justice officials accepting at face value the information they received from the bureaucrats involved in the gun running, illegal gun running. Documents obtained by Congress also reveal a lack of respect for congressional oversight, according to the report, with lawmakers saying Obama's top DOJ officials, including Eric Holder, showed disdain for Congress and its role. Same thing we're seeing now in 2019 under Trump. Same attitude. These people don't respect the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Congress, or the fact they even got to Washington. These Democratic liberals. On top of that, the documents show that the Department of Justice's bizarre responses and focus on spin and lies were coming down from Holder himself. That's Eric Holder. Numerous voices said Holder should be in jail, and he should be, about 50 to 100 years. One major focus of the latest report was the murder of border agent Terry. More than 5 years after Brian's murder, the Terry family still wonders about key details of Operation Fast and Furious. The Justice Department's obstruction of Congress. Now, I'm going to repeat that. The Justice Department under Eric Holder, who Obama put in office, appointed him, obstruction of Congress's investigation contributed to the Terry family's inability to find answers. Senator Chuck Grassley, who played a key role in the congressional investigation, testified before the House Oversight Committee and made similar changes. The Department of Justice and ATF had no intention of looking for honest answers and being transparent. In fact, from the onset, bureaucrats employed shameless delay tactics to obstruct the investigation. Another official who testified at the House hearing was ATF Special Agent John Dodson, one of the initial whistleblowers to come forward and expose the scandalous scheme. In his testimony before lawmakers, Dodson said his objection to the gun running resulted in officials and reprisals, ridicule, and being put in a state of purgatory within the agency. That decision, the single act of standing up and saying, "What we are doing is wrong," instantly took my standing from being that of an agent of the government to an enemy of the state. ATF and DOJ officials implemented an all-out campaign to silence and discredit me. I'll reread that. The ATF and DOJ officials, let me highlight this. This is very important. ATF and DOJ officials implemented an all-out campaign to silence and discredit me. Isn't that what they're doing now in 2019? These Democratic, Communist, Marxist liberals, they've already silenced Alex Jones and Steven Crowder and a vast majority of the conservatives out here. Does this sound familiar? This is how communist, Marxist, terrorists work within the Democratic Liberal Party. I'm going to say it again. This is how communist, Marxist, terrorists work within the Democratic Liberal Party. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, this Representative Marcia Fudge from Ohio, AOC, those two, call them what they are, they're raghead congresswoman up there in Michigan. Those two loudmouth skanks. See how they can't wait to get back in power. As they lie their way and brainwash you ignorant fools into voting for them. It's pathetic. You put a Democrat back in office, this country's gone. Tell you that right now. Whether it's city politics, county, state, or federal, do not vote any of these Democrats back in office. Indeed, it was thanks to Dodson that many of the administration's lies about Fast and Furious were exposed to lawmakers and the public in the first place. Among other lies, Dodson's revelations debunked the false botched investigation narrative peddled by top officials. The notion that the program was simply a well-intended plan gone awry to trace weapons and arrest criminals. Instead, Dotson showed that there never was an actual plan to actually catch any criminals. Even more absurd, the supposed criminals being investigated had been cultivated as informants and were, in fact, assets of the FBI. Exploding the fake narrative pushed by the Obama administration and its propagandists in the establishment press. I'm going to read that again. Let me highlight this. I want you all to follow along and read. The supposed criminals being investigated had been cultivated as informants and were in fact assets of the FBI. Exploding the fake narrative pushed by the Obama administration and its propagandists in the establishment press, meaning the media, like CNN, MSNBC, NPR, ABC News, NBC News, CNBC, The Washington Post, The New York Times, and I could go on and on. In other words, the FBI was working with its assets to use taxpayer dollars. FBI was working to use taxpayer dollars to help arm Mexican drug cartels with weapons bought at American gun stores under orders from the ATF. We'll re-highlight that. I want you all to reread this with me. This is Marcia Fudge's claim that Obama left office with no scandals. Really? In other words, the FBI was working with its assets to use taxpayer dollars to help arm Mexican drug cartels with weapons bought at an American gun stores under orders from the ATF. Take the government out of this equation and nothing gets done. No guns get purchased because there is no FBI money to pay for them. No guns get sold because ATF is not coercing the gun dealers to sell them. And no guns get trafficked because ATF is not using the guise of a big case to allow it to happen. And yet the Justice Department, under Obama, was happy to let the farce continue, telling my ATF bosses they were doing a great job, and then the resulting violence was used to demonize gun rights and the Second Amendment. I'm going to reread that again. And yet the Justice Department, under communist Marxist terrorist Obama, was happy to let the farce continue, telling my ATF bosses they were doing a great job. And then the resulting violence was used to demonize gun rights owners and the Second Amendment. Why is that important? Because this is how radical communist Marxist terrorists work. This is exactly how they work. They are radical communist Marxist terrorists. Obama, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, their entire cabinet, as well as all those federal judges that are sitting on benches still to this day in 2019, just waiting. They're like little terrorists over there in the Middle East. These people need to be removed. And then they all need to be put in prison for no less than 75 years. Every goddamn one of them. For reasons that remain clear, President Donald Trump's Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, was not willing to testify about the issue before the House Oversight Committee. In a letter sent to committee chair, now this is also important. I'm going to highlight this whole paragraph. For reasons that remain unclear, President Donald Trump's Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, was not willing to testify about the issue before the House Oversight Committee. In a letter sent to the committee chair, Jason Chaffez, the DOJ cited ongoing litigation in the case, as well as settlement discussions for refusing to show up or at least send somebody. Under these circumstances, we are not in a position to provide additional information in response to your questions, nor to have a department witness testify about them at a congressional hearing, the DOJ said in a letter. Once the litigation is over, that may change. This is another reason the Democratic liberals are acting the way they are towards Donald Trump and his administration. This is to cover up not only this crime, but in my previous video, that under Obama they sent $100 billion. Again, $100 billion to Central America of your tax-paying dollars. On top of this, this Fast and Furious scandal that Democratic Communist Marxist terrorist Marcia Fudge from Ohio refuses to acknowledge because she has selective memory on purpose. I'm going to say it again. She has selective memory on purpose. Marcia Fudge, the communist Marxist terrorist Democrat from Ohio that you've seen in the video previous to this, giving her loudmouth, arrogant speech from her trash mouth, her racist trash mouth. While Obama and his top minions have so far escaped serious accountability for their deadly scheming, like Hillary has, which has contributed to hundreds of deaths on both sides of the border, the American people continue to demand answers. Hopefully, Congress will take the probe seriously. For the sake of preventing similar crimes in the future, it is crucial that the gun running, the perjury, the criminal contempt, and the apparent effort to traffic guns to murderous criminals in order to demonize gun rights, in other words, conservatives, and all other crimes be severely punished. Congressional reports and investigations are no substitute for actual justice. While Obama and his top minions have so far escaped serious accountability for their deadly scheming, which has contributed to hundreds of deaths on both sides of the border, the American people continue to demand answers. Hopefully, Congress will take the probe seriously. Oh, no, they're not. Because they're fucking Democratic communist terrorists, that's why. For the sake of preventing similar crimes in the future, it is crucial that the gun running, illegal gun running, the perjury, lies, the criminal contempt by the Obama administration and its officials, the apparent effort to traffic guns, illegal guns, weapons, to murderous criminals in order to demonize gun rights, conservatives, and all the other crimes be severely punished. All the other crimes under the Obama administration, which Marcia Fudge, the Democrat communist Marxist terrorist from Ohio, either doesn't know about, has forgotten because of her selective memory. I will post a link to this article below the video. Look for it.